minutes.
I'll make a motion to pass the minutes as written.
Second.
Okay.
Good job.
Public comment, we do have,
Everybody in favor?
oh, everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So we do have a guest. Hi.
This is, well, I guess I'll just let you say who you are.
I'm Henry Ratcliffe, and I'm the intern for this library.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Told me I had to come to one library advisory board meeting just to see how.
Ah. All right, information items. Council liaison report. All right. Then I do not as well. You have anything?
I do, so I'm the person who decided to include the comments from David Tate in the packet. So first I was talking about the fact that the budget committee needed a lot of help. And David does a really good job of coordinating everybody. But I thought that it was important, it was in the Candy Herald, the date and all that in there. I just thought it was really important information that, you know, one of the things that we can be doing to support the library, because I know that, well, Paul was at all the meetings. I went to one, I traveled in for another one, I know that Christie did too, and they were painful, you know, and I'm sure that Paul and Marissa can talk about how painful they are. And Dave makes a really good point, is that the budget is a very serious issue, and we're not treating the budget seriously. And I think that what we can do as individuals is, you know, try to talk to people and encourage people to really seriously think about getting on the budget committee. I mean, if you want to make a difference in the community, that's the place to do it. You know, it's really, truly in the budget committee. So I didn't know if everybody had a chance to read it, so I decided I would cut it out and copy it for people and include it in my packet. So
Thank you.
you can read it at your leisure anyways, it's just.
Are there any board member reports? Okay, any news about LDAC?
Obviously, we met on June 23rd, spent the entire time talking about something we'll be talking about later tonight, which is the Library District Task Force, which was created because LDAC is not getting things done. And LDAC ended up spending the entire meeting time talking about wanting to give input for this, or for this task force, wanting to get input from absolutely everyone all across the county. And thankfully, a few people who were at that meeting let LDAC know that everyone will get a say at some point, but this task force is meant to be small. All of the participants on the task force, which I am one of 2 directors, are supposed to go out and get feedback from their other connection points. So I'm the rural library director, I'm representing the rural library, so it's my job to go get input from the other rural library directors. Same thing with the mayors and city managers, the rural city manager goes to get input from the other rural city managers, and so on and so forth. I don't want to get too far into it because we're going to talk about this later, but that was mostly what LDAC ended up talking about at that meeting. Is there anything else?
Oh, no, that, well, filled the time, yeah.
That was it. But it did end on time, which was like the first time that's ever happened, so.
Goodness, but we got nowhere. Oh, anyway.
So does the full LDAC attend every of these task force meetings?
No.
Okay.
Guests are invited to the task force meetings, which we usually do have a few LDAC members, a few board members, a few directors. Nobody except for the 10 people on the task force are allowed to talk in the meetings. Doesn't mean we don't get their input in other areas, but basically guests are allowed, but they're not allowed to speak just because we are there to try to get something done at every single meeting.
Right, so the influence of rehashing things isn't gonna keep
Yes.
in this.
And that's what the task force is talking about. They're talking about all of the issues that LDAC has brought up before in the past. We're just trying to move it forward instead of going in circles, so far it's going well, and I'll talk about that more later.
We do not have a team liaison report as far as I am aware, okay. Director bi-monthly report.
Okay, you should have the most recent bi-monthly report in your packet for May and June. Couple things I was gonna point out. Our digital checkouts went up by almost 1,000, so that's it's a great problem to have, but it is creating issues just because a lot of libraries' physical collections are still circling really well. So to have the digital checkouts also increasing in really big amounts is kind of a big deal because digital books are much more expensive than physical books and we don't own them, even if we purchase them. So the directors are trying to figure out what to do about that, but we're very encouraged that people want to use the library in this new way. Customer interactions, which is also just reference questions, things like that, that increased by a very large amount as well. I couldn't tell you why specifically for May and June that increased, but that is over 1,000 questions more than we normally get asked within that time period. So it just shows the need to have reference staff on the desk at all times. Other things in there are just kind of par for the course. We've been doing really well and somehow we've been staying caught up with everything we've got going on. On the backside, we did a lot of stuff in the past couple months. We recently started doing some more outreach events. And so for May and June, we attended 4 events and had 507 participants, talked to a lot of people about getting library cards and what a library card does for them. And then we also talked to a lot of people who already had cards but didn't know about a specific resource.
What kind of events are they?
It depends, they're all over the place. One, we went to Pride, we were there, talked to a lot of people. Melissa's actually gonna be going to, so this obviously wasn't for May and June, but Melissa's gonna be going to one of the elementary schools tomorrow for their, I don't know. They're all over the place. We've been to a couple Bridging Cultures events, music in the park events, things like that. Usually just places where we get a lot of people walking by, so it's a really good opportunity to show people what we do and hopefully connect them with a resource that they need. Did a lot of school tours towards the end of the school year as well. 13 of them, in fact, saw about 363 students. Those went really well. And then one of the AP bio classes ended up coming down on one of their last days and learning more about our seed library and checking out seeds, so that was really fun. And then our summer reading program started on the 2nd of June. We've had obviously more by now, but we had over 1,000 people sign up within about a month period, which was awesome, and people are starting to turn in their logs. And that's for all ages, something that I like to remind people of. So if you're an adult and want to participate, just go to the reference desk and grab a log. I highlighted this too. Our new summer teen intern, Henry, started on June 17th. There he is. This is a short-term internship entirely grant funded through the State Library of Oregon. This is the 2nd year we've had it, so we're really excited. And Henry's been great so far. I've gotten nothing but positive comments from library staff and other people about what he's been doing. I don't know if I told you that in person, but there you go. Our career center is still kind of being worked on. We're getting closer. It actually looks a little bit different than what you see now here already, but we've got the signage up. We have the beginnings of our career center collection ready to go, cataloged. We've got some computers, a laptop, and then you can't see it here because it wasn't there at that point, but we also have a supplies cabinet where people are going to be able to use free supplies. Anything job related, so if they need folders, pens, flash drives, things like that, it's all free. We're also going to have a lot of giveaway books in case people want to take some resources home and learn about it. We're hoping for, I think we were hoping for an August start date or open date for the Career Center, but it'll be between August and September 1st. So that'll be really exciting. And again, this was also completely grant funded through the county. We got one amount of money for this past fiscal year to get kind of everything up and going. And then we have another amount that we get to spend this fiscal year as well to continue working on those things. So we're super excited about that. Clackamas County Repair Fair that happened this past Saturday went really well. I have a report in my email, I think, that says how many people they helped, but it went really well. It's usually a really popular and well-attended program. The county also does repair fairs at all the libraries over a period of time. So if you missed this one and want to get something repaired, we do have a schedule up on the community bulletin board for the other repair fairs happening in the county. And then the last thing is all the way on the bottom, the 7 R's of Sustainable Living. I wanted to partially point this out because this was a program that I have worked a lot on trying to get off the ground. It's a grant-funded program. It basically is going to be featuring guests from the county's Sustainability and Solid Waste Office and the Canby Kiwanis Thrift Store. Also grant-funded, like I said. It's going to be Thursday, July 24th at 6 o'clock. There's going to be free book giveaways while supplies last, and then some other sustainable type supplies that we'll be giving away and raffling off as well, in addition to some Canby Kiwanis Thrift Store gift cards. So we're really excited about that. So please attend if you can. Other than that, things have been going really well in the library. We just completed an internal recruitment for Lisa's position, who retired at the end of last year. We reviewed those applications today, and we're going to be interviewing for that next week, and then we'll be fully staffed once we have that person on board. And I put that in air quotes because fully staffed is not staffed enough, but we're doing well with what we've got. Do you guys have any questions about any of that?
All right, Friends of the Canby Library.
So the really big sale of the year happens at Swan Island Dahlias the Sunday of Labor Day weekend. So that's Sunday, August 31st. They'll be at Swan Island from 9 till 5:30 that day. So that's some of their very best books. There'll be some plants. I'm making aprons to sell. So it's a good excuse to go out to Swan Island and enjoy the flowers and the food and the wine and the beer. But the other thing was that for this the fiscal year that we're in, the Friends have made a commitment of $30,000 to the library for the year. It's a huge jump. When I was the chair, we went from 18 to 22, and that was a huge jump. So anything you can do to help the Friends is greatly appreciated because they've made a huge commitment to the library. That's all I have.
All right.
Okay, we've got 2 discussion items. I swear, Amy, you will be controlling the rest of these meetings after today. I just had some stuff that we kind of decided as a group to talk about since it's July. We have our new member Zoe on the board now. Also have our guests who want him to learn a little bit, but just thought we could spend a little time doing a little reset info session on the library advisory board and expectations and things like that. I think somebody had also mentioned the Knightsbridge being closed and maybe wanting to flex the meeting time, if that's helpful once it's closed again after Thursday, so we can talk about that and then go from there. So I don't want to spend too much time on this, but if you guys have questions, let me know. So this packet that's in your packet, packet within a packet that says State Library of Oregon on the upper left-hand side, this is a part of a handbook for library boards. Not everything in the handbook applies to our library board since this is an advisory board and not a governing board. It is a goal for me and Amy and Lois, and Linda actually already did it, to go through the handbook and kind of create more of a specific to our library advisory group handbook. It's a fairly long document, so I didn't have time to fully go through it, but that's something that we will be doing. So I did go through at least part of it to find information that I thought would be useful. So if you go to page 12, which is the back side of that front paper, bottom paragraph. There's just a couple things I'll read in this packet. If you guys have questions, let me know. But most of these should be reminders, and if they're not reminders, hopefully it's information that you can remember and bring with you to future meetings. So in general, advisory and governing board members are strongly interested in the library and the community it serves. They are representatives of the whole community and must bring a broad perspective to their board member role. They devote time to prepare for and attend meetings, to actively participate in planning, budgeting, and policy setting, and are willing and able to advocate for the library and support the principles of intellectual freedom and open access to information. Any questions about that? Hopefully that's pretty standard for everybody. On the next page, on page 13, I'm just going to read a little bit from the top here. A public library is a publicly funded agency in the state of Oregon that provides to all residents of a local government unit-free and equal access to library and information services that are suitable for persons of all ages. As a public agency, a library must comply with the laws of the state of Oregon. Board members are public officials and as such fall under the ethics and liability laws in the ORS. It's a very long document. If you want to read it, I can certainly send it to you. But it does outline the do's and don'ts for board members and any of the concerns revolving around government ethics. So there are a lot of rules that we have to abide by. It's one of the reasons why we have to take notes. It's why meetings are recorded unless there's something wrong technologically. It's one of the reasons why we have to have a quorum in order to make decisions. And it's also another reason why we don't make decisions over email. We only make them in the meeting. If you go to the next page, page 14, talk a little bit about board member roles and responsibilities. So those wishing to be library board members are engaged and interested in the community and the library, keen to understand and implement board roles, responsibilities, and authority, willing to participate fully and designate the time needed to prepare for and attend board meetings, focused on the mission of the library, which is on our website in the About Us section, actively involved in planning, policy development, budgeting, and working with the library director, familiar with fiscal responsibilities and asks clarifying questions, not a rubber stamp, respectful, able to work well through conflict and disagreement, and supportive of and an advocate for the principles of EDIA and intellectual freedom. Any questions there? Should be pretty good. I'm going to keep reading a little bit more from this page and on to the next one. Roles and responsibilities, how do we operate? The role of the board in the public library is comprehensive. While the board does not operate the library, they do ensure that it is operated efficiently, effectively, and within the bounds of law and policy. The board's role includes, but is not limited to, governance, the act or process of governing or overseeing the control and direction of something. To advocate, advocating for, communicating about, and promoting the library and staff. For governing boards, I'm going to ignore that because that's not us. We're an advisory board. So anytime you see governing board, just ignore that. We're not a governing board. Being aware of and complying with applicable laws and rules. Enacting policies aligned with law and principles of outstanding library service. Upholding the connection between the community's needs and the library's vision, mission, and strategic direction. Planning strategically and regularly for the future, and acting only as a cooperative collective, never as individuals. The most important thing for a board member to know is that they have no individual authority. The board's authority occurs only when they sit as a whole in open meeting. A quorum of members can make decisions and pass resolutions. According to the dictionary, a quorum is the minimum number of officers or members of a body that is required to be present at a given meeting as to transact business. Not gonna read that. And then finally, an effective board member commits to regularly attending board meetings, follows the board's bylaws, prepares for each board meeting by reading reports, understanding the financial documents and asking for more information when necessary, supports the board's decisions, plans, and policies, ensures that the board's meetings comply with Oregon's laws such as open meetings and public records, participates in learning opportunities, empowers the staff to operate the library and stay away from day-to-day operations, advocates for the library and continuing development of library services, engages with organizations that promote libraries such as the Oregon Library Association, United for Libraries, and the Library's Friends and Foundation groups. I'm gonna ignore that. Now you can go to page 18. And then this is just kind of a continuation of all of the library board duties and whatnot. This talks a little bit more about the board and the director and how important the board's relationship is with the library director. The relationship between the director and the board is an important relationship in the library. They work in partnership to ensure the library is moving in a direction that aligns with the community's needs. And I won't read the rest there, but if you look at that table that goes on to the next page, it just goes in depth a little bit more about the board and really what their what your responsibilities are. And then it talks a little bit more about my role as library director and what my responsibilities are. And there's a lot of overlap, but there's also a lot of difference in between the two. But really what it comes down to is that our goal is to always be working together. It means reading all of the materials, coming with questions. It means, if for some reason you're able to read all of the materials in advance, but you just don't understand something, let me know. I'm more than willing to meet with anybody or clarify things or give more information. Another thing that we used to do too, that we can certainly get back into a little more formally, but we kind of did it informally, is if there's any learning opportunities, if you guys want to know about a process, like weeding, for example, we did this a while ago. We did a little info session on weeding. I was not the director at the time, but I did do the info session on weeding where we just described what weeding is, the parameters that we use around weeding, and really just wanted to teach everybody on the board how we did a specific process. So that's something that's always open.
And that was an excellent presentation. That I think that's something that, I don't know, were you here for that? Amy was here for that, were you? I don't think you were.
No.
That it might not be a bad idea to present it to the, or at least a condensed version of it. Because it was an excellent presentation.
It's the first time I've ever had anybody question me about anything at the library. It came up over that very issue. I had taken a book home that had been put in the Friends Library. And it was one of the 7-day books or 14-day books. And someone observed me reading it and said, how come they're giving away those books? They're brand new books. And it gave me an opportunity to say, thank heaven I knew, that we overbought because they were a special book.
We had, exactly,
for
I'll just tell you because we're talking about it, but
Yeah.
popular items, we buy several copies. We do everything based on reports and data and stats. We have something called a PAR report that we get every week, stands for Purchase Alert Report. It tells us how many holds we have on certain items, if it passes a certain ratio. And so if we have 5 Canby holds for an item, let's say the most popular fiction book that came out, we have to own 1 copy. If we had 10 holds, we have to own 2 copies.
Yeah.
Lucky Day copies are bought on top of that. So those are extra copies. So in the end, what we try to do, instead of just throwing them in the trash, is we give them to the friends, they sell them, they get another life, they get more money out of it. And in the end, it works out for everybody. I think everyone gets supported even just with the life cycle of that one book. And obviously, you guys know spacing will always be an issue in the library. We can't keep everything as much as we would like to. That's why we leave. Some people have issues with leading, and I totally understand why, but in the end, we just can't keep everything. So we have to make hard decisions, but we're also very careful about the decisions we make, and we always make sure we have data to back those up. So yes, I'll go through that at some point. And then very back page of that packet, just the last piece here. A significant role for board members is the role of advocate for the library. Board members represent community members' points of view, and they also can share the library story with the community. There are many ways for a board to advocate for the library, providing reports and presentations for the public and other local agencies and organizations. The library director can make the presentations, and board members are present to support them. Writing letters to local media, sharing with as many people as possible the wonderful things that are happening at their library, having meaningful discussions about decisions to be made and being very clear about why the board made the decision it did, answering questions that arise from the public about the library. Building strong community relationships all the time helps the library remain resilient in times of conflict and contention. And as you guys know, during the recent budget committee meetings, this board did a great job of doing that. Sent a lot of letters in to city councilors and the mayor. A few of them were read out loud, including one of Zoe's. So it's a really important role is the advocating part. There's a lot of stuff that as a library staff member, I can't do. I can advocate, but there's certain things that are just a little bit beyond my scope. So that's why having you guys and also the Friends of the Library and the Library Foundation do those things that we can't do is really important and very special.
So some of the things like advocating, like telling people about the Seed Library. I mean, I have neighbors who come into the library once every few years. Once they found out about the Seed Library, they were in here immediately. I went to the garlic presentation last September, and people come see my garden and ooh and ah over the garlic, and I would say, I went to a presentation at the library on garlic, and they gave me a bunch of garlic clones to plant. And I know from Maud when there's going to be another garlic growing session this September 27th, which is my husband's birthday. And I've already got some people who are interested in coming to that. So advocacy is simply sharing experiences and spreading the word. It's sending letters to city council members, letters to the editor, spreading the word on Facebook and stuff like that. But a lot of it is just telling people there's a lot of stuff going on at the library. You should check it out. You know.
It's listening and hearing, oh, you're a gardener? Have you checked out the Seed Library before? Things like that. Do you guys have any questions about that? The goal for Amy and I is going to be working on trying to create a very specific library advisory board packet similar to this that, you know, really is everything about our specific board. But it'll take a little bit of time since it's a big document. I've got other things that I'm doing too. Do you guys have any questions about what's expected of anyone? Okay. Do you guys want to talk about possibly flexing the meeting time while the bridge is under repair for a few months? Are you guys fine just leaving things as is?
I think we should talk to the people who have to drive in it.
Right. Tiffany, I think, struggles with it.
Yep.
And I possibly do too. I don't know.
So how difficult would it be? Oh, you're gonna have problems with it too.
I do. I flex when I leave work, so I can just leave work a little bit early.
So we've been doing 5:30 to 6:30 for a long time, and it's worked out very, very well. But while the bridge is closed, should we be doing 6 to 7? I think is the question.
Probably make it easier for people coming from that side.
So can we get some feedback from Tiffany then? And so Amy, I think you said it would be easier for you.
To go 6 to 7? Yeah, it would. when the school year starts. I'm pretty confident Tiffany would like to move it. Is that?
Because and it's also not just the bridge now too, it's like they're gonna be tearing up Park Road at the same time they're
Yeah.
working on the bridge. So that's gonna double the
Just
time
fuel.
of
Fantastic.
traffic coming through there,
So
so.
you'll be
We're
jumping
trapped.
through Aurora.
That's the truth.
So it's either the ferry or Aurora or even probably maybe.
Yeah, yeah. So I would like to make a proposal that until the bridge is resolved, that we move the meetings till 6 to 7. Somebody want to say?
Second it.
Second it, everybody in favor? Oh, you're supposed to say.
Oh, everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're
We
moving
have-
6 to 7. Let's reevaluate in a few months though, is that, okay?
Does that start like next month?
Yes.
Yeah, I think with the August meeting, I'll send an email out to confirm with everyone, once I make sure, once the city recorder does and everything, but that shouldn't be a problem, and I'll ask Tiffany too, just to make sure.
Good.
Yeah, so do you guys have any other questions about any of the library advisory board expectations or anything like that?
I thought it was interesting, and maybe I fell quietly asleep while you explained this, but I thought the distinction between governing boards and advisory boards was really interesting. The business of advisory boards are appointed and governing boards have to be elected. And so there's obviously a difference in expectation of how much power is involved.
All right, any other comments before we move on to the other reason why we're meeting? Okay. Other thing I wanted to go over has to do with the library district task force, like I said earlier. And one of the reasons why I'm bringing it up here is because I want to get feedback from you guys so I can bring it back to the task force. I'm going to go over some of what's in that paper that says Library District Task Force meeting notes. I just wanted you guys to all kind of understand where the task force is at right now. Basically, the goal of the task force is going to be to figure out what specific ideas or strategic actions that we can give to the Board of County Commissioners, both short-term and long-term, in order to secure the long-term health and vitality of the library district. This district task force was created to basically address some of the issues that LDAC, or the Library District Advisory Committee, is kind of at a stalemate with. So really what we've been working on as a task force is trying to get on the same page, trying to see what kinds of actions or opportunities that we all agree on as far as the library district goes. So after the last meeting, which was a couple weeks ago, we all agreed on a couple different things, and this is what they are. One, we agreed, the majority of us agreed that we need to look at the boundaries. Obviously, you guys already know about the Karis area issue and how a lot of those patrons are coming to our library, but the funding is going to the Oregon City Library, despite the fact that the Karis area is under the Canby Fire District and also a part of the Canby School District. So that's one thing that most of the libraries agreed on, was looking at the boundaries. So that's one issue. The biggest issue I would say that we all agreed on is that second bullet point, which is to address the equity issues with the district revenue distribution formula, which includes unincorporated folks and also huge differences between the rural and urban differences. The rural and urban library funding differences, excuse me. And hopefully trying to get a tax rate increase. There are some libraries that have enough but could use more, and there's a lot of other libraries that don't have enough and need more right now. We are one of those libraries. We have been kind of rinse and repeat with our budget for the past several years while costs are increasing, and that's kind of a big deal, especially for us. I think what we're realizing too, because the district revenue distribution formula has several different pieces involved, including service population size, property values, which is kind of an issue, and then also the percentage of unincorporated folks. It seems like the divide between the have libraries and the have not libraries is just getting bigger and bigger. Obviously, I don't need to show you the budgets for all the libraries, but there's a few libraries that get more district revenue, and then their city also kicks in a lot of money as well. We're not one of those libraries, and one of the interesting things as far as this task force goes is that there was a city manager, who I will not name, who was under the impression that the library district funds were supposed to cover everything, all of the operating costs for a library, and that is not true. These funds from the library district are supposed to augment what the cities are already providing. And one of the issues that we have here in Canby is we get a small portion of the general fund, but it is a fight, I feel like, every single year. And with the increase in costs and the fact that we have more and more expected of us, our library is expected to do more and more for this community, which we want to do. It's just causing a lot of issues right now. And when you think about property tax values as well, you know, someone in Lake Oswego, let's say, all of their properties tend to be a little bit more expensive than some of the other cities in Clackamas County. So not only are they getting more funds because of that, they're getting more funds because they also have larger populations and also get portions of other areas as well, including Tualatin and whatnot. And that's just causing more issues too. It's one of the reasons why some of the libraries are having really in-depth conversations about what going fine-free would mean. There's a couple libraries that are silently going fine-free, libraries that can afford to do that, and other libraries like us that would love to do that but can't. So there's just a lot going on with that, but this is one thing that all of the library representatives did agree on, is that we need to look at that formula and we need to talk about what would be involved in going out for a vote and getting a tax rate increase so we can all get more funding and continue to provide services for all of our community members, and hopefully shrink that equity divide. So there's that, and then the very last one was to look into more centralized services at the network level to help all of the libraries provide minimum levels of service to our users. And if you don't already know, all of the libraries obviously have a staff and a director. We also have a central network office that is operated by the county. We call them our network office. They have their own staff and they provide a lot of services centrally that they provide to all the libraries, so we can provide certain services at a cheaper cost since we're going in on it together. So they were wanting to look at possibly including the network operational expenses underneath the library district, because right now the county's paying for the network office and all of their operating costs. And as you know, with a county and really everyone right now, they're trying to cut costs. So every year they try to shrink that budget, when in reality, we need to be increasing that budget so we can all continue.
So I have a question. So basically, we all pay taxes that go into, I'm gonna call it the link pot.
Yes.
And the network piece doesn't come out of that, comes out of a separate county fund?
It comes out of the
Oh.
county's general fund. And obviously, there was a lot going on when the courthouse was being built. They were threatened to cut their budget extensively, and they didn't end up doing that, thankfully. But the cuts are always up for debate.
Yeah, it just seems like they should be out of the link pot.
Which is why if we do go out for a vote to get an increased tax rate, we have to look at whatever that number that could be that could support all of the libraries, and then also basically like another library almost.
Right.
But the Link Network staff do a great job. They do a lot of work for such a small group, like a lot of the other libraries. And so I'm very supportive of that, as are I think a lot of other people. So, again, just a couple kind of summarization points. The library district was created to augment libraries and not entirely fund them. Individual cities should be providing some funding. This was a surprise to a few people, which I thought was interesting. But that shows you that LDAC, is going in circles over this IGA because a lot of things aren't clear. And when they're not clear, people don't know whether or not they can move forward with this or they should stay back and not make that choice. So it's been very confusing, and it's one of the reasons why a lot of people on the task force want to help make a new IGA if we were to do that a little bit more clear. The problem is we can't be too clear or it's gonna be really confining. So there's a lot going on here. So like I said at the beginning of when I was talking about all of this, the goal of this task force, which we're hoping to have all of our work done by the end of the calendar year, so December, is to figure out what ideas and strategic actions that we can give to the Board of County Commissioners who oversee the library district, both short-term and long-term, to secure the long-term health and vitality of the library district. And when it comes down to it, there's a lot of issues. Most of the issues we all agree on. And so whatever we do end up passing to the Board of County Commissioners, it'll be all the stuff that we do agree on. And I will say too, both Paul Savas and Martha Schrader have very, not blindly, but have definitely supported going out for a new tax district, a successor tax district. So they said that they'd be willing to do whatever they can in their power to make that happen, and that's a big deal for those specific folks to say that and to support us. So it's going really well so far. Like I said, we've only had 2 meetings. Our next meeting is next week, so I'll let you know what happens from there. But if you guys have any input or have any thoughts about any of the things that I said, or you're like, you know what about this issue? Have you thought about that? Please let me know here or elsewhere. I'm still very much looking for feedback so I can pass that on and speak from a place of many different people's experiences, not just my own. Because obviously I'm coming at this as a library director, but there's a lot of other input that I think would be useful for these conversations. So, any thoughts on any of that?
I have a question. I want to understand the relationship between property value and distribution. Is it if the property value is higher than the distribution is greater?
So the way, I have a slide that maybe I'll even bring to the next meeting, but the way that it works is that our tax rate, every single person who lives in Clackamas County and some of the unincorporated areas pays 39 cents on the dollar per $1,000 of assessed property value.
Yes.
So if you have property values that are, let's say you have a property that's $800,000 compared to a $200,000 one, you can see that this person will be paying more and this person will be paying less. And generally that's divided by the communities. So we get less than Lake Oswego because our property values are not as high.
That's reductive. Yeah, well, I mean, it can't work that way unless where we are is the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. I mean, I understand the relationship between the tax rate and who brings the biggest pot into the table, but the problem with doing it that way is that you're effectively saying people who live in less affluent communities get less affluent everything. And I'm sure my friends in Lake Oswego would not like hearing that. I lived there for a long time.
I mean, that might have worked at some point in the past, but the more time that passes, the more we're all realizing it's not working at all. I mean, there are some libraries in the meetings that I've been in who are like, look at all the stuff we do. And I'm like, well, we do that. And then look at our hours. And I'm like, well, we're talking about reducing hours. And then it's like, we're gonna go find free. And I'm talking about cutting staff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't feel good, and my biggest worry is that the longer this goes on, the more angry people are gonna get, and the harder it is gonna be to move through this issue.
That needs to come to the table, because there needs to be a different method of distribution of funds. The idea with public anything is that everyone contributes and everyone shares equally. And this is a situation where everyone contributes, but we're not sharing equally. We're sharing according to what you put into the pot. It's backwards.
Portland Public Library System unified, and now they're all part of one system. Clackamas County doesn't want to do that, or Multnomah County did that. But Clackamas County does not want to do that.
No, and that's partially because each of the libraries is underneath the umbrella of their own city. Every single library, from my perspective, and all the councils want to keep that underneath their umbrella. They want to be able to make decisions for their specific libraries.
But you can't have both.
I agree.
And that's where the real problem is.
Why can't you? I mean, one is a question of governance, and another is a question of sharing.
It's one of the things that we're talking about in these meetings is what is a consortium? It's a partnership. It's working together. And I think what all of these issues are kind of bringing up is the fact that it's getting harder and harder to work together when some libraries have all these resources and others don't. And Multnomah County, they have a tax rate that's like 3 times as large as ours, so. I'm excited for them, it's awesome, but it just hurts sometimes when, you know, we're trying to provide as much as we possibly can for our community, but we're very limited because 1, the distribution formula, and 2, there's other needs that the city, you know, needs to pay for, and I don't think that the library is gonna be super high on their priorities list when there are other things that may need attention right now. So I understand where everyone's coming from, but at the same time, we are being asked to do more and more with less and less, and eventually it's just gonna snap.
So the truth is, there are more library systems within Clackamas County than that are hurt by this distribution system than there are libraries that are helped by it.
Yeah.
And
And I'll tell you
somebody
too-
needs to start paying attention to that.
Which, that's what LDAC has been doing, but there's been some
Well-
sticking points for some reason. In one of my conversations with the Sandy director, she said that a lot of the homes in the Hoodland area are people's second homes. And so they're using the library and not necessarily paying into the district because it's not their primary residence. So like, that's another issue. I mean,
Wait, if it's not your primary residence, you don't pay the same tax?
I can't explain it the way that she explained it, but she basically was trying to say that there's a lot of people using the Hoodland Library that are not
Yeah.
paying their fair share.
Hmm.
So, I mean, all that's to say is that there's a lot of issues with every library that people don't know about, and that's one of the reasons why we're having this task force and meeting about these things, is to figure out what all the problems are, what are the problems that we can all agree on that are affecting everyone, and then trying to move forward in trying to fix those issues. But it's a really tough ask to get everybody to be on the same page, and I will say I do feel like everybody wants to be on the same page, so I've been very encouraged from these meetings so far. Also partly because there is a facilitator and she's been very good at her job as well.
So can we go back, if there's any other questions, because I want to go back to something you talked about in the last meeting.
Just really quick, is that the end game, like to get everybody to make a decision? Like, is there a time frame for that, or it just goes on until everybody?
No, there is a
agrees?
time frame. We basically, our next meeting, because we have homework assignments, there's a lot going on, but at the very end of the next meeting next week, we already have to have a list started of things that we want to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners. But I don't think we're gonna have that solid list like ready to go until, I would say, fall, November, And that's partially because everyone wants to spend a solid amount of time trying to make sure that we are asking the Board of County Commissioners to do something that we all want and that we all agree on. So this is a short-term task force, and then basically after the task force is done, there will be another step involved. It will probably involve more people, more input, things like that, including LDAC doing their own work. But this is the very first step in a long line of steps to go out for a new tax rate increase. And I will say this is the first time that I've had hope that this is possible, because people even at the county care and want to make it happen.
And I mean, I don't know anything about this, but is this something that like, it's a ballot measure? Like, do we have to vote on this? That's the, okay.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be, I mean, obviously things like this take a long time, and there are certain cities in the county who have said like, don't talk to me about a ballot measure for at least 5 years. Like, we've got other things going on the ballot, blah, 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 we can't do this. And so part of the issue we're also coming across is trying to get everybody on board to do what's needed in a realistic timeframe, not too far out, not too soon. So that's one of the reasons why there are city managers involved in things like this, so they can also talk to their council and see how their council feels about things like this. But I mean, this is one of those things where we have to get everyone on the same page to do this. And there's 13 libraries represented by 11 cities.
Yeah.
So it's a really heavy ask, but this is huge so far. I mean, we've gotten a lot of work done in 2 meetings already, so I'm very hopeful.
So,
If this is the same topic, go on, because I want to change topics.
So the task force makes the recommendation. Is there like any sort of official directive that once that recommendation is made, that LDAC agrees that this is what they're going to work on? Or that they're going to, like, this is the task force recommendation, and we say this is what we're gonna do?
I would love to say yes, but I can't. I don't know, I honestly don't know what LDAC's gonna do. I can tell you that there are people talking about disbanding LDAC. That's kind of one of the bigger topics. Don't tell anyone I said. Even though this is being recorded and people can watch it easily.
Okay.
LDAC has just been creating more problems than they've been able to solve actual issues, and so I don't know what's gonna happen with them. I don't know the future of it. All I know is that this task force had to be created because of what's going on.
So it's a task force recommendation going directly to
The
the
Board of
Board of
Commissioners.
Commissioners, so technically, so then it's not going to LDAC to then for LDAC to go to, so it's going
Right.
directly to, okay.
Yes.
Well,
Their input is being received, but we're going past them
Okay.
to get this done.
One more cranky comment.
Sure.
It strikes me that one of the really useful things that might come out of this task force is a sense of what a minimum standard should be financially. Not in terms of how many people you have work for the library, but a minimum amount of money that everybody in terms of percentages needs to get.
It's one of the reasons why they've been talking about more centralized services at Network, things that the libraries wouldn't care giving up responsibility for. That way, basically, they can pay out of their own pot of money for certain things, so we all have that baseline, and then we all have our own pots of money to do the other things for specific cities.
Yeah. There are a lot of things that I think probably every library uses, and services particularly.
Yeah.
That could be handled that way and make things a lot easier.
Actually, that might be a really interesting future agenda item, is to talk to you guys about like what Network actually provides for us.
Yeah.
They do a lot and they're wanting to do more, but obviously they're also limited with their own budget. All right, Lois.
So, no, I'm going to withdraw my question because I'm hungry and it would take us half an hour because it was gonna be about 5, and I don't wanna do it tonight. Not after last meeting. Oh, I do have an,
will be gone for the August meeting. I will be up in Canada visiting my family.
Yes, I checked that first.
Marissa, when is the meeting next week?
Oh, the district task force meeting. Let me just confirm that time. It is Wednesday, July 23rd at 10 a.m. And it's in the Development Services Building in Oregon City. I can forward this to you if you would like to come. I don't know what room we're gonna be in. We've been in a different room both times, but there's always seats for guests to come and listen.
Is there anything else for the meeting?
I move we adjourn.
I second it.
Meeting is adjourned.
Everybody in favor of that?
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great.
All right. And then I'll send an email out to you guys confirming the 6 to 7 p.m. meeting time change, and then we can reassess in a couple
Yes.
months.
That's great.
Yeah, I will see you tomorrow.